1979, a 20-year-old London lesbian attended her first gay pride march with the school friends she'd come out with the previous year. In 1978, we all came out within a few weeks of each other. First Paul, on the left there, then me, and then Neil, on the right, whose only brother was also gay. And this led his deeply Catholic mother to comment in all seriousness, "Did you all catch it off each other?" True. So in one bound, the three musketeers headed off into the wonderful world of being out. We went to the Scala Cinema in London to watch our first gay positive film together, Word Is Out. We went to our first gay discos together, the Union Tavern in South London, religiously every Tuesday and Thursday. And in 1979, we stepped out on our first gay pride march. 40 years out and counting, Performing the Archive, will be a solo stage show written and performed by moi, drawing on my history of being the right dyke in the right place at the right time. It will draw on the rare material I have in my humongous private archive that reflects and chronicles more than 4 decades of a community's evolution. I've witnessed the story, chronicled the story, and was and am still part of that story. There have been some wonderful shows in recent years which have given the gay men's version of events. But now it's time for one that flags up the lesbian! Right. The story starts with Sylvester, the 6'4" black queen who rocked our white world when we watched him on Top of the Pops as he came sashaying down a flight of stairs singing Mighty Real. It was sexy, insistent, full of the promise of good times. And behind it was his message to be out, loud and proud. And there he was, performing in Hyde Park at my very first gay pride. That was Mighty Real. Oh, you gay women! Oh, you gay men! Come together, stand together, and each other's rights defend. And we had to stand together, because those were the days when police outnumbered marchers by at least 5 to 1. And, as I witnessed at Gay Pride 1980, they were only too keen to arrest and assault us on the slightest pretext. During the 1980 Pride Parade, myself and my then girlfriend Sue were proudly marching alongside 2 of the most glorious members of the Brixton Fairies, Frank Egan and Julian Howes. And Frank was resplendent, all in a pink frock, topped off with a plastic miniature meat cleaver in his hat. As you do. It was my accessory choice. This tiny item, it was about that big, I'm not joking. I think it came from a doll's house or something, it was really tiny, but it gave the police the perfect excuse to get stuck into the Queen's. First the copper said to Frank, "Excuse me, could you take that off and put it in your handbag?" Which I doubt a copper ever said to a man before. And then, a couple of minutes later, he stopped Frank and arrested him and said, "You've got an offensive weapon in your handbag, you're nicked." Yeah, and he was charged with possessing an offensive weapon. And when Julian protested, he was arrested as well, and so were a number of other men. So the rest of our group turned the march around and staged a sitting protest, which is when the police got decidedly hands-on. Spare Rib reported that several more women and men were harassed by the police. It was my first recorded moment of participation in lesbian and gay history, because Sue and I were 2 of the several women. 2, 4, 6, 8, is your girlfriend really straight? If you were the only boy in the world, and I was the only girl, nothing. In 1984, 600 of us marched from Kensington to Trafalgar Square, and a gay man supporting us from the side had a badge on, I think it said queer as fuck or something, which became the object of some drunken straight male hecklers. So what did the police do? They dragged him away. And Jill Posner, who leapt to photograph it, well, she was dragged away as well, and so were 3 other women. So what did we do? We didn't take it lying down, did we? We took it sitting down, right in the middle of the road. And by an amazing coincidence, my then girlfriend, Nicola Field, and I, we had a camera with us, a little video camera. And Nicola was one of the founder of Lesbians and Gay Support the Minders. And we happened to film this thing as it was happening around us, pure fluke. And happily, I still got that footage. Nicola and I had met after I became the first lesbian to join the Gay Youth Video Project, which was given a smidgen of money by Channel 4 and the BFI to make the first film by and about young lesbians and gay men. Which is how, one freezing morning in February 1983, me and 6 other dykes came to be in an East London street market to film me asking complete strangers, "Excuse me, sir, do you know what a lesbian is?" As you can see, some men didn't. We got some very interesting results. "Excuse me, sir, do you know what a lesbian is?" "Well, some sort of woman wheeling and dealing." "Excuse me, sir, do you know what a lesbian is?" "Or I should call him a sex maniac." "Excuse me, madam, do you know what a lesbian is?" "Well, it's a woman that goes with other women, isn't it?" "Do you know any lesbians?" "Oh, no." "Are you heterosexual yourself?" "Oh, no, I've got 3 kids and a husband." "Excuse me, sir, do you know what the word lesbian means?" "No." "Excuse me, do you know what the word homosexual means?" "No." "Do you know what the word heterosexual means?" "Oh, yes, it's somewhere between the two, I guess." "Excuse me, sir, what would you do if you found out your sister was a lesbian?" "Kill her!" This quite amazing footage became a pivotal part of what eventually became the groundbreaking documentary Framed Youth, which was shown on Channel 4. And what do you know? We only won the 1984 BFI Grierson Award for Best Documentary. Oh. I don't have that head. I don't know. That's John Grierson, apparently. Now, if I say GLC, who knows what I'm talking about? Yes. What is it? British Council. Not as someone I know who lives in London now, they thought it meant Gay and Lesbian Council. It's, for those that don't know, it's what existed in London to govern the city before the current Greater London Authority elected mayor. And once upon a time, as you can see, it was a little bit ambivalent about us. It decided to ban gay floats from its family event, the Easter Parade. So a bunch of us dykes decided to turn up anyway to give out gay pride balloons and stickers. And one idiot actually risked being mown down by a truck to stick one on it. I wouldn't do that now. But then the GLC decided it loved us after all. It funded September in the Pink, which was the first ever publicly funded lesbian and gay arts festival. It funded the ultimately ill-fated London Lesbian and Gay Centre, which opened in 1985 and closed in 1993. It also produced a number of historic charters and reports, many of the first of their kind. After a year, bizarrely, I found myself being the elected lesbian representative on the GLC Women's Committee. I had a GLC members card and everything. Mm-hmm. And that did things like this. Oh, there we are, that's me with a not so good haircut. It did things like that. And it did things like this. Handbook of Lesbian Rights. You don't see that very often nowadays, do you? Now, not surprisingly, with all this going on, in 1983, the Conservatives' General Election Manifesto promised to abolish the GLC, a wasteful and unnecessary tier of government. And of course, when other Labour councils started to fund us as well, the gutter press really went to town. And lesbian became the insult du jour. Have you heard what they're saying about us? Could it really be true? Have you heard them, all the bigots and shouters? Read about me and you. Everything to fight for, but with everything to lose. Should you come out fighting, or stay hidden, how'd you choose? Only we know what it's cost to win our pride. So much was lost. They're the things that no one ever hears. It's gone on for so many years. We weren't humans, we were just queers. Have you heard? Spread the word. I love that woman's name, Debbie Martel. Martel to the Queen. Yeah. Anyway, by the time all that happened, I'd begun my 4-year stint at that amazing London magazine, City Limits. Because in October 1985, again unintentionally, I was appointed the first lesbian co-editor of the Out in the City section, which had been created and edited by Brian Kennedy. Now, what was important about that? Well, it's because City Limits was the first non-gay magazine to have a lesbian writer on its staff hired specifically to cover all things lesbian, both in our own right and within the wider community. So I was just paid 1 day a week, and I had to cover the lesbian waterfront. Clubs, pubs, publishing, theatre, music, cinema, television, art, activism. Of course, the hardest thing was working out when it was the right time to include the listing for the 5-track women's disco held in the basement of the Duke of Buggery pub every third Monday of the month, unless there was an R in the month, in which case it was held on the second Tuesday of the month. Now, during those years at City Limits, Brian and I were at the forefront of the fight against 2 major enemies that could have destroyed our community, and yet which had a powerful mobilising effect. And one of those, of course, was Section 28. Birth announcements. Name, Section 28. Born, June the 1st, 1988. Parents, Tory MPs David Wilshire and Dame Jill Knight. Distinguishing marks? Bigotry, fear and oppression. Godparents, the British tabloid media, an inept Labour front bench, and Margaret Thatcher. In March 1988, a copy of a letter from Margaret Thatcher was leaked to us at City Limits, and it said this: these provisions were introduced because of the growing concern about the use of ratepayers' money to promote homosexuality. In particular, there was a real concern that local authorities were targeting some activities on young people in an apparent endeavour to glamorise homosexuality. Isn't the word glamorous enough? Clause 28 would ensure that this undesirable development could not continue. Now, it wasn't so much the clause itself we feared, so much as the bigotry and violence it would engender. And those fears were borne out. Within a very short space of time, women at the Drum Lesbian Disco were viciously beaten by a group of men as they left. Shots were fired at the London Apprentice Club. The Vauxhall Tavern was attacked by a mob. The Fallen Angel pub was twice targeted by armed robbers. And a poster advertising a lesbian and gay awareness week at a young London university was doctored to read, "Slaughter, the first step, lesbian and gay suicides now." And posters appeared saying, "Death to gays." So, what did we do? Together, we marched, we wrote, we spoke out, amongst other things. This, I think, is the greatest piece of non-violent direct action ever. And it spawned one of the best chants on the Pride March that year. Gay love should be free again, and if you don't agree again, we'll invade the BBC again, Amongst other things, Brian and I witnessed the founding of Stonewall at Ian McKellen's house. We were at demonstrations and events in London, Manchester and Brighton. And we even ended up donating to the campaign in a most unlikely fashion. Michael Cashman had given me an exclusive interview. All the papers and all the tabloids had been after me. He said, no, I'll only do one for City Limits and I'll only do it for Rose. So what happened? A spy at the printers sent the article to the Sun, who probably stole all the quotes from it and passed it off as their own work. And it still goes on. I was very naive. I didn't know this kind of thing happened. So anyway, our solicitors went after News International and Rupert Murdoch, and the company was forced to make a modest donation to the Stop the Clause campaign. And that's one of my proudest moments, showing and donating some of Rupert Murdoch's money to a Stop the Clause rally in London. Have you heard what they're saying about us? Could it really be true? Our promotion, such an odious notion. Sad to say, nothing new. The same old lies, the same old fears. It went on for so many years, but together we would overcome with deeds and words. Have you heard? The other enemy we faced together, of course, was AIDS. Historically speaking, I cannot remember another time before or since when a health crisis in this country was used as a socio-political weapon against the sector of the community most affected by that crisis. AIDS transformed my life, but I wasn't even ill. In one of my articles I wrote that if you ignore the AIDS crisis, it would bite you on the backside one day. I didn't ignore it, but it bloody well did anyway. Spring 1987. Somebody rings me at work to tell me that Mark Ashton's died. He'd had PCP and was getting better, it seemed. And then he just went very quickly. He was younger than me. We'd been in Frame Juice together. I write a short obituary about him. It's the first I've ever done. I hope it's the last. Christmas 1987. A friend's been suffering from flu for 3 weeks, but I've just been told he's actually in hospital with PCP. It looks like he's going to recover, but he doesn't want anyone at our work to know because he's not sure how they'll react. January 1989. Sylvester has died, an early hero from my coming out days. I write his obituary. Now I know it won't be the last one I write. November 1989. One of my best friends has been told that 4 years after being diagnosed HIV positive, there is some viral activity. They won't tell me what that means, though, he jokes. I mean, it could be waving at me or something. That's an activity. Inez Ryder edited AIDS, the Women, the first book to document the surge of solidarity between lesbians and gay men, and the work of women in the early years of the AIDS crisis. She told me that during her global travels in 1988 and 1989, in every community she visited, she met women with AIDS, and always some of those women were lesbians. She said, I found that half of the women I talked to who identify as lesbians now didn't in 1985. As for me, I lost men I campaigned with, worked with, screamed with, grew up with, including Brian. Most of them didn't make it to 40, let alone 50. It was as if someone took a very sharp pair of scissors to my address books and photo albums. Now, many gay men could tell a depressingly similar story, but increasingly, so could many lesbians. And the emotional, social, and psychological damage was huge. We were all living with AIDS now. And yet again, lesbians stepped up, protesting, campaigning, counselling, volunteering, fundraising, giving blood, writing, and mourning. And mourning. Over 2,500 years ago, Sappho, history's most famous lesbian, wrote, "Someone, I tell you, in another time, will remember us." Well, it is another time. And we do remember. And we must keep on remembering all of this. Have you heard of the lost generation? There were many, not few, victimized by vilification. Sad to say, nothing new. We commemorate the lives of those we loved and lost. They all paid a painful price, and we still count the cost. A terror with a tiny name, weaponized to render blame and shame. It's been with us for so many years, too much loss, too many tears. But our memories will never blur, it's what they deserve. Have you heard? Thank you. Thank you for coming out on such a lovely day on the beach. We've got a little time for a Q&A if you want. I have an announcement to make, which is really, really good news. There's such a brilliant stuff going around. Before I was asked to do this event, and before we booked it in and everything, I'd applied for Arts Council Research and Development funding to get a proper show up and running, and I did that just before Christmas. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that a few weeks ago I got funding. Yay! I hadn't had Arts Council funding for 3 years, and in 1 year alone they turned me down 4 times, which is a bit brutal. But you know, we don't give up, do we? Yeah. So I'm absolutely delighted that that's going to happen. If you see on the flyer there are dates for your diaries, because I'm going to be doing some workshops. So the show is called Performing the Archive. There's going to be one here, and there's going to be one at Seaford Library, and another in London for anybody that's up in London. And that's actually going to be a chance to look at some of the material, some of the archive material, and actually touch it, and within reason, and just look at it. And I'll be telling more stories that from the show and the rest of it. And so it's only like a couple of hours, so maybe some film clips. So that's going to be happening, and then I will be doing the show proper at the wonderful women-led Bread and Roses pub theatre in Clapham, and then I will be bringing it to the Curtain Playhouse in Hove for 3 nights. That will happen in June. The dates are on the flyers there, and then after that I'll be putting in for more funding and hopefully taking it everywhere. Today Hove, tomorrow the world, and all that. So that's what I'll be doing, and also I'm in the early stages, but this has been such a long-term project. I had a dream 2 years ago. I went, wouldn't it be great if I could do a show and an NHLF-funded heritage project out of this incredible archive, because I want to share it with people. And we're getting there. We've got the funding for the show, and I've finally got an HIF partner organisation. I'm not telling you who at the moment, and we're in the early stages of applying for funding, but hopefully early next year there'll be the heritage side of it, which will be workshops, tours, talks, and the show will run in parallel with that. So I'm not ambitious, am I? And why not? Why not? I was at a thing about women in theatre a few days ago in London, and Jesus Christ, was it depressing and angering as well. You know, we're 51.9% of the population, and we're still getting crumbs. I mean, it's called what share of the cake, and we're getting crumbs basically, and it's just like, so it's made me realise how really important it is to do this kind of stuff. If I ever had any doubts before, and in terms of Arts Council funding, I've actually been pretty successful with them. Compared to some other women, you think, why are they funding them? Why? And there is no answer. So I'm absolutely delighted. So I will hopefully be taking the show on the road, and there will be one thing the Arts Council. I'm going to be having a digital set. So it's like with projectors with some of these images that I can interact. So you know, a lot of what getting Arts Council funding is box ticking. I mean, this was the 11th application I've done in the last 5, 6 years, something like that, and they had funded me 4 times before, and then they just stopped for 3 years. But then a lot of people, I know, you should be funded and get it. So all I can say to people is just keep on keeping on. Don't go away. You know, it's dispiriting, disheartening, but it's really great that they are funding a lesbian history show, because that doesn't happen that often. And it's great to hear the gay men's side and the rest of it, but bloody hell, we need to hear the women's stories, don't we? So I'm really proud to have persisted and got that funding. And I know there's a lot of interest in the show and a lot of the project, because I've been doing what they call scoping events. You have to make a case for an audience. And that's what you do. You do conferences, and you do, you know, I went to Berlin and did a conference there, which is where I did this for the first time, and it went down really well, and I thought, yeah, I think I'm on something here. And that's what you have to do, and I've been doing it. I did this in Birmingham and in Bedford. Brighton. Not Hertford, Hereford, Hampshire. For those of you that believe, and some of you clearly don't. So it's great to do stuff like this, because, you know, you can say to the Arts Council, to venues, look, you know, these people turned out for this, and taster, and I'm really hoping that I think the show is going to do fairly well. I seem to have hit the right place at the right time again. It seems to be the time for this sort of show, and it's great. I love doing it. I'm you know, freaking it before the first night, as I always am. But it's really fantastic to be telling these stories, and from a lesbian, what they call through a lesbian telescope. But you know, through a lesbian prison. Oh, Freudian. Yes, I could do it through a lesbian prison. I'm absolutely delighted, and so do take the flyers. There'll be stuff about it in the local press and on my website and stuff. I think the bookings you can start booking quite soon. So has anybody got anything they want to ask or say? Or yes. Hello.
It was just a little factual thing. At some point, I can't remember the name of it, you said that the GLC had funded some lesbian organisation. There's a picture of a building, and then you said,
oh, it was the London Lesbian and Gay Centre.
Unfortunately, you used the word unfortunately, something as in it closed prematurely or something.
Well,
what was that?
Right. Oh, well, it's a long story. Yeah, I know it's probably going on. What's tragic about the London Lesbian and Gay Centre is that there was a need for it, because it's extremely well used.
I remember hearing about
it. But it was. I mean, you'll hear different things from different people. My take on it is that its financial planning was flawed right from the start, because they were going to. I think it was only about 8 members of staff, and then they were going to do the rest by volunteers. Now, it was like 5 floors, I think. It was a big building. There was a technical floor, and there were meetings. There was a disco and theatre. There was a creche. It was barnacles. And there was a little, Gaze the Word, had a little store there for a while. And you cannot sustain running a building and make it financially viable with volunteer staff. You just can't do it. Not if it, because the thing is, GLC funded to set it up, and it was supposed to be financially self-sustaining after a few years. And so the business plan was flawed right from the beginning. And then, of course, you've got the usual infighting, and there was some really stupid stuff going on with staff. You had staff appointed who were completely unqualified for what they were doing. There were the two women, I'm not going to mention their names, because they're around somewhere, but they were supposed to be managing the technical resources part of it. Now, that should have been a great money spin. You know, printing presses and badges and all the rest of it. The technical resources, this is my understanding of it, that they were on a job share. So one was supposed to be there too. They said, they turned around and they told the management, no, we've got to work on the same days. Now you can't do that. You can't do that. So you had little things like that going on. So it was poor management, it was poor planning, but the fact that it ran for 8 years was pretty amazing, and it was really sad because it was really well used. There were, you know, it was fantastic. I mean, if you look at, I've got a lot of stuff in my files about it, and there was clearly a need for it, but it was flawed, and that was a tragedy. And it's, you know, I couldn't really start something up now, I don't think, but it was a shame because I mean it was one of the biggest political weapons used against the GLC by the Tory government. The funding of this lesbian gay centre. It was you know, and they really had to fight to get it through. And the other thing I didn't say was that Brian, my lovely Brian, he was the development worker for it. It was him and Helen Jenkins. They were on a proper job share, and they found this building, and they, you know, once it was up and running, they were off, and Brian was also at City Limits by then. So it was such a shame because it could still be there even now. But you've got to get your business plan right on this stuff, and you've got to have good management. It's the key to everything. We're just talking about coming here, we're talking about, you know, how our local Morrison's branch is brilliantly managed, and yet the local business is shit. Because it's all down to poor management, and if you don't get that right, then you know you can have the best thing in the world, but it's not going to. But trying to run a building, because what happened was, what do volunteers do? They're just getting expenses, so they're going to start putting things into, aren't they? And they're going to start nicking stuff out of the fridge and the freezer, and they're going to take money out the till. That's what's going to happen. I don't endorse that, obviously I don't. But you know, a lot of people were at that time, and they're obviously thinking these people are getting paid a salary for being full, and I'm volunteering here, and I'm getting paid expenses, and they didn't, and that was it. So. You know, that's my take on it. Other people would say something different, but that was my observation as to why ultimately it was due. But as I say, the fact you've got kept going for 8 years on that sort of, you know, there were all sort of public meetings and God, of course Brian had to go report on.
But I think the factionalism at the time and the divide and rule between and I'm sure loads of it was deliberate with hindsight, actually dividing, keeping lesbians and gay men, and certainly anybody who was trans, God knows where they were, you know,
invisible.
There was a lot of infighting, a lot of kind of what is this centre for? Who is it for? Who is it for? And where is the power and control within it?
Well, that's a really good point, Fernando, because there was a before it even opened, there was we're not going to let SM Dykes and Gays in, or the London Bisexual Group. Okay. You know, so that's a funny one. So it was, and some of it is.
Wasn't some of it as well? I mean, so I'm coming from a completely different viewpoint, but I remember certainly in London there was a lot of factionalism because we're looking at it in layers of context, and the layer of context about feminism was that, you know, there were two warring women's centres in King's Cross.
Oh my God.
You know, there was factionalism, and there were groups where there were, I can remember, as I saw it, lesbian groups versus heterosexual groups.
That happens. Oh my God. on King's Cross Women's Centre.
And Tonbridge Women's Centre.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, one of the women, no, two of the women, I think, from that faction, King's Cross Women's Centre, were on the LGBT Women's Committee.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, what am I doing with these people? And they were just totally trying to drive their agenda. And they would try and discover things. But it was really difficult because, and I'm going to say this out loud, okay, Valerie Wise, who's the chair of the Women's Committee, did not like lesbians. I mean, you know, we all knew it. So she was pretty uncomfortable with Dykes being on there anyway. And it was, you know, I was only, what, 23, 24 or something. Going, what the fuck is going on here? It's like, ugh. I had enough after the I thought, you know, I can't really do a lot here. I mean, you were there pretty much rubber stamping stuff. I mean, it was only once a month, and I can't go. I don't really know what I'm doing here.
It was a wonderful experiment. I remember going there one Sunday afternoon and bumping into two ex-students of mine who were like having the time of their lives.
What, the centre?
Yes, the
Yeah,
centre,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And one of them said, I can come here and be gay. And he said, I can't cope with the scene.
Yes.
The scene was like too much for him. And for guys and women like him, that was
Yeah.
one of the strengths.
Oh, there was definitely a need for it. There's no question. If a little bit of better management, a little bit of better planning, as I say, it might still be there today. The building's still, I mean, it's quite fun. City Limit and City Limit's office is just around the corner from there. Isn't it? So if I walk down that area, it's like memories flooding back. That whole sort of Clerkenwell Green area. It's like, you know, it's where I spent so many years of my life, and it's just, it's all gone. You know, it's all gone. Turnmill's Club, which is our biggest gay club, that's all gone. You know, all the stuff that is from the Fallen Angel's gone, Sister Right Bookshop's gone, and just gone. The London that I mean, I lived there 38 years. I was born and I grew up there. I don't recognise it at all in any respect. So.
But the seeds were sown. You stopped at 8 and 9. Yeah. We're now, whatever you were, I don't know, I have to work it out.
31 years later.
You know, lots of things have happened since, built on, lots of that activity, and loads more round about it. I mean, you just touched the tip of an iceberg.
Oh yeah.
You've got a whole series of shows, you know, that you could do.
I could, well that's the thing, I mean, and that's what I'm kind of hoping that if we get the money for the Heritage Project, we're talking about a lot, you know, what I get for doing the show is chump change, let me tell you, we're not taking a lot of money, and it doesn't all go to me because I provide work for other people who work with them. So, National Heritage Lottery Fund, we're talking a lot more money, and I don't have to manage it, yes! And I don't have to do the application all on my own, yes, yes, yes! But you do have to have a partner organisation, you can't apply as an individual, which is the main flaw in it, because there are lots of people out there who have private archives and would love to do the sort of thing that I'm planning to do, and they can't do it. And trust me, I spent a year trying to engender relationship with partner organisations. One who said, yeah, we're really up for it, and then they sort of went bust under a very large plan. So I went to the next one, oh yeah, we'd like to do it, and the person I was dealing with decided to retire, and then I went for a meeting with people that were taken down and said, oh no, we've got our priorities, this won't happen until at least next year. And I went, right. And then finally, the person I had to work with said, why don't you try this organisation? And in fact, it will work a lot better in terms of, because what I want to make the nucleus of the HLF project is those 4 years in City Limits, because this isn't really about me. I mean, it is sort of, but it's not. I was sort of there, and all this was going on, and as I said, I was chronicling it, and I was part of it, and I've archived it as well. So I'm the sort of, if you could be like a wheel, I'm that bit in the middle, and all this other stuff was going on around me, coming out. So yeah, absolutely, I could do a whole show about the AIDS crisis. I could do a whole show about sexual harassment. I could do a whole show about you know, discrimination against lesbians, the tabloid attacks on us. It could, you know, it could have a whole spin-off series. You know, 40 years out and counting the series. It's so, you know, I will. Some of what you've seen today will go into the show. Some of it will be the same. Some of it will be expanded. But You know, I want to make people angry, I want to make people laugh, and hopefully make them cry as well. I like people getting their Kleenex, you know. And but I will be developing that over the next couple of months, and you know, going through my the word, as you say, you know, it's tip of the iceberg. The hardest thing will be, what the hell do I leave out? Because I do want to make it not particularly about me, but about what I was part of and what was going on around me. And as you say, to show how that, you know, built things up. But those 4 years at City Limits, I mean, I'll let you know a little secret. I had no ambitions or aspirations whatsoever to be a journalist or an author. None whatsoever. And yet I was a journalist for 25 years, and I got my name on 17 books. Irritating, isn't it? It's really annoying. So those 4 years at City Limits, I was not bothered about whether I got that job. I had friends, they said, you'd be really good at it, you've been an activist and you've been involved in form, you'd be really, really good at it, and you're not part of a faction. That was important. And oh God, I'm not really a journalist, oh for God's sake. No, go. I got an interview, and I'm not joking, I was the most blasé interviewee ever. I was like, I was off on a date, I was having a hot date that morning. I mean, I was like, and I couldn't have been bothered, whereas there were a number of other women who were desperate to get that job because they wanted to drive their own agenda. They had this agenda and they wanted to, you know, use the magazine. We weren't there to do that, we were there to, that's very wanky, we were there to serve the community, to reflect the community, to, you know, and so we were paid 1 day a week, and we spent about 3 or 4 days working. I think initially it's £27 a day. This is 1985, and no expenses because the magazines are called Co-op. But we were members of staff, so we got to do other articles in the rest of the magazine. And City Limits was brilliant at that. I mean, they must have seen something in me that I didn't know was there. You know, and I started getting commissions and other, you know, the side tracks. They were, oh, you like those cemeteries? Oh, God, I'm like that might get some. And so gradually, I know, I get the weird things. Rose, can you ice skate? Yes, off you go and review this outside. You know? But I loved that they didn't pigeonhole me. You know, they went, actually, you're good, you're a bit of a quirky character, so we think you do this. And you know, like this yes section, then asked me to interview Frankie Howard, and then what happens, gave the Times, asked, they said, you know, we need more women to write stuff. So, you know, I ended up interviewing people like Jane Rule and Susan Sontag and all these people. And people are always impressed by Susan Sontag. You see, I'm not, because I'm not an academic. And then Spare Rib, and so gradually, by mistake, I became a journalist. I was at City Limits for 4 years, and after that, it was really hard. I did decent freelance work for them, but it was, and then out of that came books by accident. And again, it really gets up people's noses who are desperate to be authors, and I'm going, no, I didn't plan to be. Sorry. But that's just the way things are. And so I had been a performer before I was at City Limits from 79 till about the beginning of 86, in fringe theatre, women's groups, gay groups. And that just got really hard because you never got any funding whatsoever, and you know, fighting and stuff like that. And so when the City Limits thing came along, I just went, 4 years later. So it's kind of quite funny that what I'm doing now is there's an amalgamation of everything I've done before. It combines everything, and it's. I only went back to 48 years ago. Okay. And I'm loving it, and I'm loving that I'm able to now tell these stories. And there's clearly a need for it. I know the audiences are out there. So, you know, it's really great to be doing something you really know people want to come and see or want to hear about, or want to go and see an exhibition or whatever it is we're going to do. Because, you know, what we're doing is we do digital exhibitions of a lot of the stuff in my archive. So this is going to be shared with people. Because I was thinking, you know, I've got all this stuff sitting here. It stays with me until I'm no longer here, because I use it for work and stuff all the time. And people, you know, out there sort of got this email saying, "Oh, I'm looking at this article. Have you got the, you know, gay news?" I went, "I've got a whole set of gay news. What date are you looking for?" And you know, it was within minutes, wasn't it? And I was like, scan it, send it, and you know, summary. You know, I like doing things like that. So, but I thought, well, there's all this stuff sitting here. And I really want people to share it. And of course, we now have Star Trek technology. I'd love to see the day, it's fantastic. And so there's, you know, it can be shared with more people than chats. So we could do things like that. We can do virtual tours, we can, it's great. The technology's there. You've got the material, you can do anything with it. And the theatre side is a part of it because people like responding to that as well. I mean, film's great and all the rest of it, but I'll give you an example. When I did this taster in Berlin, I was really unwell, and and I didn't know how it's going to go, and I just did it, and they were like, oh my God, and because I came on and did that, because there's a bunch of academics who've been suffering death by PowerPoint all day. So they didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't have my boots with me, unfortunately. Oh. Yeah, I know, I only got those a couple of weeks ago. My show boots. And I remember thinking, what the hell I had on. And it's been years since I've worn Doc Martens, and Christ, I've forgotten how much they hurt. Yeah. And it's brilliant. And I did that in Berlin. I did this taster, and I sort of came off stage, and there was a complete silence. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's, I can do the bird at the Glasgow Empire or something, And but no, they couldn't speak because I finished it with the AIDS and they just couldn't say anything. And then somebody in the front row went, because some woman apparently said, what happens now? And she was in Sweden. And the woman who was sitting next to her said, well, Rose, they want more. And I went, I haven't got any more. So I said, all right, I'll do Mighty Reel again. But I said, but you've all got to join in this time. And they were singing and they were clicking, and that's what you get with live theatre. You can't script moments like that. And that's why I love doing it more than anything, really. So but it's really great to do a show about this stuff. It's really liberating. I mean, people can say, oh, we didn't like doing it. Yeah, but it makes me really proud. Jesus, what we come to it. I mean, my God, in the 80s we had, Thatcher came to power in 79 and all that brought with it. And then you had the onset of AIDS. And then we were just dealing with that. And then, we're going to stick Section 28 on you. How's that? It was, we were like going. But what happened was the forces that were against us completely underestimated us. They underestimated our resilience. They underestimated our resourcefulness. They underestimated our humour. They underestimated our solidarity, whatever the faction fighting was. When we needed to come together, we came together. And it was incredible what we fought through and what we overcame. And actually, as someone at another talk a couple of weeks ago talked about the original Gay Liberation Front aims and demands. And the only one we haven't achieved is that we are not safe to still hold hands and kiss on the street. But everything else on that list we've achieved, which is pretty phenomenal. So if any of you feel downhearted about what's going on, I know a lot of people are miserable, people talk about leaving the country. Oh, for God's sake, we're not cowards. We were not cowards then, we're not cowards now. But running away isn't going to help anything. We never did that. We didn't do it before, we shouldn't do it now. There's a lot, we've got all sorts of shit going on. There's racism, there's anti-Semitism, we've got, what are we, you don't run away, we never did that. And we're not doing it now, and I'm certainly not going to. And so we've got to remember. We've got to remember what we achieved before and how we overcame it. And often without money or without commercial sponsorship or anything like shit. We did it. And a lot of us are still here. And we lost a lot of male companions, but we've got, there's amazing men out there, there's amazing women out there, and we have to remember that. And be proud of that, and remember that. As I say, remember it. Remember what we've done, remember what we still have, remember who we are and what we are.
Rose, I'm dead aware of the time. I know you're going to be finishing soon.
I am.
But before you do, I think it's really important for me, I think, and other women, to just mention lesbian custody and the number of lesbians specific. I know lots of gay men and trans folk have gone through all sorts of agonies and have kids, but lesbians lost their children for no other reason other than their sexuality. And that actually shifted, that was shifting. In fact, the next 10 years after this, that began to shift. And now lesbians having their own kids and out there and
fostering,
or doing all sorts. But I think it's for women and for lesbians, I think that's a really important thing, especially for younger folk, to be aware of.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when I was coming out, that was very much a big thing. Because Jackie Foster and Gillian Hanscom were doing a lot of work on that, and they brought the book out, which I got. And I know again, I mean, one of what I'm going to, I am going to go back and go through my gay news up to sort of when I came out in '78, and sort of have a look at it. It's just so much.
And loads of it wasn't reported.
Oh yeah,
there was lots of hidden stuff that went on, different discriminations and prejudices across the piece.
The only magazine that was, I mean, Spare Rib did some coverage of it, Gay News, and also Time Out, as it was then. Because for those of you who don't know, Time Out, a lot of the staff went on strike and left, and that's what became City Limits. So it used to be a much more radical magazine, yeah, it was an unbelievable place. But we did have journalists like B. Campbell and people like that, and Spare Rib and sort of doing stuff. But again, Spare Rib had no money. City Limits had no money. It was, and that's what we've got to remember. It doesn't always rely on money. It takes resourcefulness and imagination, and we achieve an awful lot with very little money. So yeah, try and stay positive.
Yeah.
Try and stay positive. We're all look. You guys are all still here. You're making the world a better place and all that shit. I'm not a producer or anything like that, but just you're all still here, and you're all out there doing your stuff. And you're all fighting forces that will try and oppress us. So, one last question.
Following up on that point, which is a really good one, seems like we're covering a period in time where we went from being outcasts and to be an activist and to work as an openly lesbian journalist meant you were beyond the pale. You were an outlaw. And sometime in the 90s, that switched, and we became, if not immediately respectable, our demands suddenly became far more reasonable. And that was, I think that was before the Blair government.
Yeah, it started. Yeah, sort of like, because also you had the media became obsessed with lipstick lesbians. Because my first book came out in 1994, and there'd been the whole Katie Lang thing on Vanity Fair, and suddenly I was getting rung up by a lot of mainstream journalists. Oh, we're doing an article about lesbians. Oh, really? And then I'd be ready to quote and all that sort of stuff. And that was 94. I remember that's when my first book came out. Oh, that's the other thing I'm hoping to do. She says, I've now got the paperback rights to my first book, Portraits of the Wall, and I'm hoping, in my spare time, in the next few months, June would be, it's what I call its coming of age birthday, it's 21st, so I'm hoping to get the reprint of that out in time, but I guess that involves my sleeping nights or something, but I'm hoping to do it anyway, because here's a little tip for you, don't ever throw anything away, I kept all my old abstracts. So I've got a lot of my own journals, which means I've got manuscripts of my books, my first books. And Little Doggy Brother Drawers, a few years ago, got them converted to Word.
And that's taking other people's to other people.
Hell no. I've also got a little doohickey that, so if you go with the old abstract, it'll convert it and you can put it on it. This is what I love about it. We've got Star Trek technology. It needs tapping away. I mean, my first journalism was done on a battleship of a manual typewriter on a splintered. It wasn't even a desk. It was like a plank. And thankfully I could touch type. But it's like I didn't get to use an Amstrad until about 1993. I mean, and I thought that was really high tech. Whoa, an Amstrad. And it's an Amstrad to have a nervous breakdown and getting delete entire chapters. But I've got quite a good memory, so I don't. We've got to wrap up, folks. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the attention. Do take it. If you've got time to fill in feedback forms, that'd be really, really great. Arts Council love feedback. If you don't like the show, that's okay. To a certain extent. But just, it'd be really lovely to hear your thoughts, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Mm.